Hi, I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. We wanted to revisit some of our older but great videos, so we're going to take a look at some of my favorites. I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today we're working on our Terra Cotta Easter pot and we're going to go ahead and get started. On this pot I used a medium brown for the background, but I want a little bit more contrast on my terracotta pot. And you can get any of your terracotta pots, you can use one that you already have. Just scrub it really well, get all the dirt and everything off. And so we're going to start with our background, and I'm just going to use a sponge brush. You can do a regular brush, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to use regular acrylic paint, but you can also use, especially if you're going to have it sitting outside, the multi-surface paint or the outdoor acrylic paint. All of those are acrylic paints. So I'm going to just make this a little bit more watered down, and we're going to come in. And this is not going to be, it's just going to be a wash. It's not going to be a solid coat of paint. And it doesn't have to be real pretty. We just want to get that background color on. And so I'm going to do it all the way around. I'm going to do the rim, and then I'm also going to do this inside ridge right here down to the indentation, because that usually will show a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get that on and then let that dry, and we'll start our next step. Now that that's dry, and you can see it's not real pretty, and that's okay because we're going to cover up a lot of it. And I took a pencil, this is a white charcoal pencil so I can see it, and I divided it off. I divide it in half, and then fours, and then eights. And you can measure that if you want that to be real perfect, but I'm not going to really worry about it. And I'm going to be using a terracotta color. This color is called Pueblo, and this is a multi-surface folk art paint. I picked it up from Walmart. You can pick it up there. And we're going to be using a dry brush method, and I'm going to be using just a real inexpensive brush or a child's paintbrush, so it kind of, you get the brush strokes and everything, and that's what we kind of want because we're kind of going for that basket look. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just take those lines down, and you can see those lines are not real perfect. I want them kind of flared out at the ends, and that's okay. And I'm going to do it just where my lines are first, up on the top, so I can see that. And you may decide that the darker brown is too much of a contrast, and you may like the medium brown. It's kind of nice to see both, so you can get decide which one you kind of want. And my last one here. And then now I'm going to take these all the way down to the bottom. And you can decide if you want to do under that lip area there or not. That's totally up to you. And these are going to be real big brush strokes. On my other one I used a little bit smaller brush, and I thought for a basket weave you would want a little bit bigger brush. So I'm trying a little bit bigger one this time. Let's decide if we want those there or not. And remember, when these are coming towards the bottom, These are going to be a little bit closer together at the bottom. And if you get one a little bit closer than the others, one farther apart, that's okay. That is not a big deal at all. So what we're going to do is we're now going to, on the rim, I'm going to do it in 2 rows. So I am going to take this one and I'm going to pull it from one direction to the other, and I'm going to leave some color between the two. I don't want to make it solid. That's what's going to kind of make that weaving pattern, basket kind of pattern look, is the separation of the two where the brown is going to kind of come through. Again, make sure you don't have any water in your brushes. You want it nice and dry. Okay, so we've gone all the way around. Now on this next one, we're going to add another rib to that. So right in the middle of the two, we're going to put one coming down again. Now you could do this one at the very beginning if you wanted to. That is fine as well, going all the way down like the ones that we just did. To me, it's just a little easier to do it this way. So from this time, we're going to come from here to here, and we're going to cover this guy up. And again, we're not going to touch on the edges here. So we're going to kind of do it like that. And all the way around here. You're going to start to see the basket weave there. You always want to make sure that you have an even number when you're doing this, and if you divide your pot in half like we did in the very beginning, you will always have an even number. You can't get an odd number by doing it that direction. So we've got that all in there. What I'm doing right now is I'm bringing these up into this top one just because the others are that way, so we want to continue it that way. So now at this point in time, I'm going to take this row and bring that all the way to the bottom now. Now remember, they're going to get closer together at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up around the edge, and then we'll start working on the bottom part. So we're going to go ahead and go back to this pattern here and do that here. So we're covering up this guy here, not trying to touch the edges. Now remember, he's going to get smaller and smaller as we get closer to the bottom. And by dividing them in half, you're always going to turn out even, and that's what you need to do to make the pattern work. And you can pull that up into the ridge a little bit. When you have it setting upright, the ridge is not really going to show, so we're not going to worry about that too much. And this is not supposed to look perfect. This is not perfect painting. It's kind of rustic. So we've done that row. So our next row is going to be from this one to this one now. So and I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll do one more here and probably 3 more rows, and I'm going to go ahead and finish that up. We've done all of the outside, so now we're going to bring those around and do them in the inside now. And I'm going to first, and I'm going to do both sets. I'm not going to do one like we did the other rim. I'm going to do just walking them over so I know where to bring them down on the inside. Missed one there. And if you're having a hard time trying to figure out which way to do it, look at under cake decorating, under the basket weave. And that should probably help you with that. So we've got those all the way around, and now I'm just going to bring those down. And if you didn't want to do the inside, you don't have to, but usually your inside is going to end up showing a little bit. So I'm going to do those all the way around, and then I'm going to do the same thing. So if this was wide on this side, I'm going to start the opposite here. I'm going to do this guy here, and that's a little bit harder to paint upside down for me, and then your next one will start here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going, and then I'll show you that part. When you're painting the rim, put the pot down and paint it and turn it as you go, and that's going to be a lot easier for you to work with it that way. Okay, now we're going to go and put our basket lines in, and we're going back to our base color. So if you used a medium brown or a dark brown, that's the color we want to go back to. And I'm going to be using a whisk brush. It's similar to a rake. It has the brush tips kind of cut out so you get a rake effect. And I'm going to put a little bit of water in it and water my paint down just a little bit. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be putting the ones that are behind by going back over them. So this guy is on top. So starting in that color we started with, I'm going to whisk those out. And then this guy underneath it would be underneath there. So when I go to this guy, he is underneath, and we're doing that guy there. So again on the edges, and then that guy is underneath. And kind of thinking if you need to do like a row at a time, just do a row at a time. Like that guy on both sides, that guy there. This guy on both sides, and that guy there. So however you need to think about doing it, that is fine. So when you came back on the next one, this guy is going to be on top, and that's all you would have to do on that row. So I'm going to go ahead and do my lines, and then we'll talk about them a little bit more just to make sure that you understand those real well. To make it a little bit easier for you, I think it's easier if we kind of do the striping on the rows going down, and then you can kind of, I think it's a little bit easier that way. So we have to think about which guy's going over top. So on this one, he is over here. So we're going to put lines there. So the next row, it's going to be the opposites. We're going to put lines there. So then it's going to be those here. So we're going to put those there, and then all the way around. So that way it's a lot easier. Then when you come back, the only thing that we're going to be doing is the sides on each one of those that are left, the not vertical but the horizontal rows. We're going to put them on each side. Try to leave a little bit of that in the middle kind of opening, not quite meeting. This is supposed to look like the basket weave. This is kind of making the weave part, and that's what the look we're trying to give it, is kind of that basket weave look. But I think that makes that process a little bit easier to understand, doing the down ones first, the every other one, and then coming back and just filling in all those. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all of these up. We're going to let this dry, and then I think I'm going to put a coat of brown, medium brown wash over the top of it just to kind of blend it and make it look a little bit aged. Now that our pot is all dry, we're going to put a real light layer of brown on, and you can water it down just a bit. I did have my sponge brush wet, but it's squeezed out. There's not a lot of water in it because you don't want it dripping. And we're just going to put a light coat of medium brown. This is nutmeg brown, and it's just going to kind of blend everything kind of together so it's not really, really stark. And if you feel that you have too much brown, you can come back and kind of wipe it up with that same brush. So that is not a big deal, but it's just kind of making it all blend together a little bit and set it back. I like the darker for the background, but I think it just needs to be kind of blended together like I've been saying. And I'm just going to put a tad of water in my brush. Be really careful with the sponge because that just sponges it all up literally. And I'm going to put it all around there, the rim as well. I'm going to flip it over. I didn't worry about doing the bottom of my pot because you're not going to see it. I did, when I started my color, make it that dark color just so it would match if you kind of looked at it. But you can see how it's really starting to make that basketly kind of look. And I'm going to do the inside rim as well. And you don't want it very dark. You're not wanting to cover up all of our really hard work. You want to make sure that you can see through it. If you get it too dark, rinse out your brush and squeeze out the water and just wipe off the paint. But I think that looks really, really good. Now if I can keep my fingers out of the top of it, we'll be doing good. Now make sure you have no runs. I'm going back and I'm picking up any runs. I do see a couple on the rim. And we're going to wait for this to dry, and once this is dry, we're going to come in and varnish it. And you can hand varnish it, that's fine, whatever kind of varnish you're comfortable with. I like to use my Krylon. I'm going to use a flat for this project because I don't want it shiny because this is supposed to be a basket. So I am going to make sure that my varnish, is flat, not satin or gloss. And polyacrylic is another really nice one that is a brush-on one that you could brush on. But just for convenience, I'm going to put that on. We're going to let it dry, and then we're going to start to assemble it. Our pot's dry. I've taken it out. I've given it a couple of varnish treatments. And you can see none of that stuff that we originally had on our pot's going to show, so it doesn't matter what it quite looked like underneath. And we're going to talk about the handles on the pots. If you wanted to take a piece of leather and use that, you could, and that would be really cute in that. You just take an old belt and one that's a little bit more, not quite as pliable as this one, would make a really good handle. So any old belt, you could pick them up at the thrift store. They're usually rather inexpensive. I think if you were doing a big pot like this, you'd want a wider one like this. But my favorite thing is a grapevine. And this is an old wreath. And it doesn't have to be a new one. And again, you can go to the thrift store and buy one. And I took it apart and I'm just using part of it. And the thinner they are, the easier they are to bend. The one over here that I did originally was, I love the wrapping of it. And if you had willows that were growing around, you could wrap it and do it that way. It would be green, but it would still work. But I had to soak that one. But this one is a little bit thinner, and so I can stick that in, and that looks really great. So I want to stick it in to my pot, and I need these areas to be down here because we don't want to glue them on up here to secure our handle. And the way that I'm going to secure our handle is with a couple of strips of material. These can be old rags or whatever. They don't need to be brand new pieces of material, just rag type material. And I'm going to do it on this one because I think it'll be a little bit easier to do. I have to stand up here. And you can decide if you want to glue it onto your material and put that in, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to glue it on both sides of the pot to hold our sticks or our handle down. And I am using hot glue gun because you want to make that very secure and you want to have a little bit of work time. And I'm going to glue that guy on first. And you do want to get it pretty tight, so you want to get as much, pull that as tight as you can. Don't get your fingers into that. And that is how we're going to hold those sticks on. If you wanted to even glue the material to the sticks a little bit by just dropping that glue down in there and then the material over to that, that'll even give them a little bit more security as well. I'm going to break this one branch off that is coming out, get rid of him, and glue this other side on real quick. Now while we're finished gluing this guy on, I'm going to talk to you about some other alternative things to do with the pot. I think it would be really pretty to put an Easter lily in this. You could, if the other pot would sit into it, you could do that, but I think it would look better if you just planted it right into this pot with an Easter lily. I think that would be really, really pretty. And that is one of your options on decorating it, or however you want to use that. And you could even do mini pots, little tiny pots. You would just make them a lot smaller and do that and kind of turn those into basket looking pots. So for mine, I'm going to go ahead and fill mine up with paper. And if you're going to put it outside and it's humid, then use your grocery plastic bags. We want to make sure that our paper doesn't come above our rim. And for this pot, I'm using 2 things of Easter grass. One was not enough. Isn't that already awesome? I just love that. And they're going to go my Easter eggs. If you're putting it outside, put little pebbles into your Easter eggs so they don't blow around. You also could stick little sticks down into it in the grass where you couldn't see them, just so your grass wouldn't move. And get that nice and full. Another thing that I think is really cute, I'm going to take the little Easter bunny headbands or the rabbit ears, and I'm going to stick that in the sides so it kind of fits over the paper, and then I'm going to cover that up with grass so all you can see are the little bunny ears. I think that is really cute by itself. But you could put little flowers in it. These are little butterflies. I found these at the Dollar Tree. I thought they were really cute, and in the wind they really look like they're blowing. But there's all kinds of fun things that you could decorate it with as well. And on this one, I went ahead and put a bow on the side, and I'll probably put another one on this one just to give it that Easter kind of feel. And so it's a nice little Easter basket. But that is basically how we do our terracotta Easter basket or pot. And that is so much fun. I did find these little grass ones that I put in the other one, little kind of, I did find those at the Dollar Tree. There was a set of 2, and I think those are so cute and look really cute in the pot as well. So just play with it, make it your own, give us a thumbs up, tell us you like the video, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTubes so that we know there are lots of people out there enjoying them so we can continue to bring you more. God bless.